Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Early College and Career Planning. My name is Chris Cox, and I am an education and career counselor here with Granite Advance. I'm joined by my colleague, Charlie Thompson. And we're really appreciative to all of you for joining us, both now and also if you are watching this recording at a later date. So, early college and career planning encompasses a lot of different things, and it's really just ways that you can be preparing both yourself and your student as best you can for your student's future, whether that is college, whether that's straight into a career field, whatever different options are available for you. So, another thing that you can do, maybe as a companion to this presentation, is to download a copy of our Early College and Career Planning Insider. It's a booklet that has tons of great information, tips, tricks, and ways to set yourselves up for success in this process. So I'll give you guys a couple of seconds to scan this QR code if you wish. You can also go ahead and find it on our website, graniteadvance.org. If you need to reference this later on, I'll put it back up at the very end of the presentation as well, so you can get some scans maybe on your way out or at the end of the webinar. So first, a little bit about who we are at Granite Advance. We are a free resource for New Hampshire students and families to help guide and shepherd you through the entire college and career process. And we do that a number of different ways, whether it is through presentations just like this one that we offer at high schools and throughout the state, whether it's publications like our Early College and Career Planning Insider and ones that we offer on other topics. But we also offer one-on-one appointments where we can meet with students and families on any of these different topics, whether it is career and aptitude exploration, whether it's exploring different future options for your student, financial aid planning to help figure out ways to make those plans more affordable, assistance with financial aid forms, including the FAFSA and CSS profile, and reviewing different financial aid offers when the time comes to see what kind of financial aid is available to your student. So any of these different appointment types are not only 100% free to you, so there is no cost, but they can be done either virtually or in person, so either on Zoom or at our offices in Concord. And so if that's something that you're interested in, you can feel free to reach out to us, whether phone or email works, or you can talk to the counselors at your school and they will be more than happy to put you in contact with us. So that's a little bit about who we are at Granite Advance. And so now let's actually delve into the topic at hand. And the first thing that we're going to talk about are pathways for your students for what they can do with their future and some ways to prepare for those different pathways. So when we talk about future pathways for your students, there can be a lot of different avenues that your student could take. And there may be more than one answer that sounds like the right answer for your student. Some ones that you may consider is four-year college, where a student can get a bachelor's degree, two-year college, oftentimes known as community college, where students can get an associate's degree, which usually takes about 2 years. You could choose to transfer from a two-year college to a four-year college, and in doing so, get both an associate's and a bachelor's degree. There might also be some professional and certificate programs that might be offered at either community colleges or trade schools to help students get direct experience towards a specific professional pathway or a trade. There are also apprenticeships or on-the-job training to help students get maybe into more specialized fields as well. And of course, there is always the military, which can provide valuable training, both getting towards a bachelor's degree or also towards different trades or industries as well. Any one of these could be the right answer for your student. There could be multiple right answers for your student, and that's completely fine. And in terms of finding which one is right, there are a lot of different things that you can go through and you can try to talk through, but ultimately it'll be your student's decision as to which one is right for them. Now, the best thing that we can recommend for your student is to do whatever they can to keep as many of these different options open to them as they go along. And so one of the first ways you can do that is preparing your student academically. So if your student is considering college in any respects, especially four-year colleges, then how your student is academically prepared and how that reflects on their transcript is going to be vitally important. So when thinking about that, think about it from the perspective of a college. And what colleges are going to look for is a solid academic record with challenging coursework and consistency. So that means that they want to see your student constantly challenging themselves, rising to that occasion, and being ultimately successful. So you're going to want to make sure that in doing that, you are working with your school's counseling office to make sure that not only are correct academic path and college prep requirements are being met, but they're also working to ensure what is required for high school graduation. And oftentimes, what is required to graduate high school in terms of courses and what is oftentimes required or preferred by a college for the sake of admission are not the same thing. So some examples might be if a high school only requires, say, 2 or maybe 3 years of math in order to graduate. Colleges may be looking at 3 or 4 years worth of math just to consider your student for admission. Foreign language is another one where that oftentimes comes up, where a student may only be required to take 1 or 2 years of a foreign language, whereas colleges may be looking for 3 or even 4 years of a foreign language. So make sure that you know where those differences are, and you can work with your counselor who helps your student to select their courses with just that. And ultimately, you're working to help create a 4-year plan that preserves as many options as possible for after high school graduation. Now, you may see just 4-year plan and think that we are just thinking about college, and we're not. A 4-year plan helps a student plan sort of proportionally to the time that they spend in high school. So you can spend 4 years to plan your next 4 years. And that can be really helpful if your student chooses college or if they don't choose college, if they choose to enter into a trade or join the military, or even if they choose to take a gap year or volunteer or something like that. You still want throughout those 4 years for your student to have as many options available to them as possible in every step of the way. That's the best thing a student can have for their future is options. Now, when you're looking at maybe what level of course your student is looking to take, and that's a question that we get a lot, is try to take the most difficult or highest level course that's available that your student is comfortable with while maintaining a B minus or better. That's an 80. So if your student is maybe comparing two different classes and there's one that's a lower level that they know without a doubt that they could get an A on practically with no effort, but they also see that there's a higher level course out there that might take more work. It might be harder, but they know they could probably get at least a B, maybe an A minus in it. Then they should absolutely strive to take the higher course, because colleges, if that's something your student is considering in any way, shape, or form, will see that. They will see that your student challenged themselves And even if they didn't get an A, if they still got a good grade, so B minus or better, they will see that your student chose the challenge and rose to that occasion. So definitely when talking about preparing academically, loop in your school counselor because they will be the ones that can help your student to set and achieve those goals and can really help with their end, the biggest piece of which could be course selection. So definitely make sure that they are a part of this process as well. Now, there is a program that actually helps students to challenge themselves, and that is the New Hampshire Scholars Program. So you can talk with your counselors about how this might look at your school, but they have a few different sort of courses of study to choose from that's above and beyond what may be required simply to graduate high school. So it sort of follows that higher standard we were talking about that can really help to empower students to be more potentially suited for those different colleges that they may be looking at. And there are a couple different courses of study that students can choose from. There is the standard course of study. There is the STEM pathway. So if you've never seen that acronym before, STEM stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics. So it's one that is very sort of oriented towards those particular areas of study. There is also an arts pathway for the visual, digital, or performing arts. And then there is a career pathway, one that is geared more towards students with that sort of career, technical, or maybe you've heard it called vocational areas. And so not only, pardon me, does it better suit you for those potential career or college options in the future, but also it makes New Hampshire scholars eligible for scholarships and potential fee waivers for college applications. So the average college will cost between $50 and $80 each to just apply. So if you can get access to some of those fee waivers ahead of time, pay less to apply to schools, that can only help you save money in the long run. So definitely is something worth exploring. You can both talk to your counselor or visit nhscholars.org as an option to explore those. So those are some experiences that you might find inside the classroom that can help your student prepare. But there are also tons of experiences outside the classroom that can help students to explore. So starting from the top and sort of working our way around, community service can be a great option to maybe help students understand a little more about what different things might be important to them, where their passions might lie. There are definitely career exploration options that are out there, whether it's a job shadow or an internship, whether it's interest inventories to help students understand more about what they like to do. There's also a program that we partner with that we'll talk about in a minute called U-Science that can really help match a student with their skills and their interests to different careers. There are tons of summer programs that are out there where students can either take college credit potentially and earn some of that to get a leg up on their competition. Also, some different career or college exploration programs to help students learn more about the different options that are out there and might also get a chance to explore different career spaces or college campuses. There is employment, so students can work outside the classroom, and that might be a window into something that they want to do or want to try and explore some more. There are different extracurricular activities, whether it's clubs, orgs, drama. There are tons of different things that you can do to help gain that experience outside the classroom, to help find things that might be suitable careers for your students. And then finally, there are home responsibilities, which can not only potentially give students ideas for what they want to do with their careers, but can also help to teach them different soft skills like communication, problem solving, analysis, and can ultimately help them to understand more about who they are and how they best function. So any of these different things that you may find outside of a classroom can not only help students understand more about their career options, but can also look really good and attractive to colleges. So definitely keep that in mind as well. So I mentioned U Science briefly, and what it is it's a program that we partner with where students will be able to identify and learn more about their naturally occurring aptitudes, strengths, and skills. So they will find the things that they are just naturally good at, and they'll have it explained to them in ways that maybe they never knew to express this particular skill before. And will walk away from it not only with new ways to express these skills, but also with matches to careers that best fit their aptitudes and their interests. This can be incredibly helpful for both students that maybe aren't quite sure what they want the future to hold for them. Maybe they don't quite know what it is they want to do as a career. This can give them a lot of new options and might be able to give them some of that direction that they're currently lacking. It can also be incredibly helpful for a student that is especially sure as to what they maybe want to do in the future. This can give them a lot of great insight and maybe a really big sense of affirmation. Like, yes, not only is this something I want to do, but it's something that lines up almost exactly with where my existing skills are. So definitely can be helpful for really all ages. So definitely, if that's something you're interested in, you can feel free to reach out to us and we can work to put you in contact with this. And we can also meet with your student one-on-one to explore and kind of explain their results a little further. So definitely check that out on our website, grantedadvance.org. So another thing that students can do that I alluded to a little bit earlier is students now have more opportunities than ever to earn college credit while they are still in high school. This can go an incredibly long way towards not only affirming if your student is interested in courses at the college level. It can be a great source of confidence for students that they can truly take and thrive college level, take college level courses and thrive within them, and can also help potentially reduce costs in the future, and can also, in certain instances, give vital knowledge for students either going into the college track or even some career tracks too. So there are a few different opportunities to do that. And a lot of you, if you either have an older student that's gone through this process recently or just have been around any of the colleges recently, you may have heard some of these programs by slightly different names. The names have all changed recently, so we'll let you know what their names are now, but also what their names used to be, because you may have recognized them previously by those other names. So first one is early college at your high school. So a lot of you may have known this previously as Project Running Start. So the way that it works is the courses and coursework is backed by and accredited by a local community college. And the course is taken at the high school. The one that I usually liken it to is a senior English course may be simultaneously offered as English 101 college composition at a community college. And so the high school teachers are credentialed by the community college and are sort of given the option to teach this course. Students will sign a contract, pay a fee, which is usually considerably less than the cost of tuition would have been otherwise for that community college. And then for all of the coursework that your student does, the grade that they get at the end of the semester or year, they now have a transcript at a community college with their name on it with college credit saying that student has taken and passed English 101, which that can be an amazing thing for a lot of the reasons I just mentioned. It can show a student that they are ready for college level courses. It can show students that they can take and thrive in those kinds of courses. And also, you've now gotten a course out of the way that you would have had to take no matter what at most colleges, and you've now done it for a fraction of the price. Now, the catch to that is whatever grade you get in that course is the grade that will show up on that transcript. So it is something that students do need to take seriously and be responsible about, but it's a great way to earn college credit on a course that you probably would have taken anyway. Now, the options and offerings will vary from school to school, so please check in with your school counselor or consult your student handbook or course guide that is provided by the high school itself as to which colleges may be offered in this way. The next one is early college on a college campus. This was formerly just known as early college or the early college program. This one is the program where students will go to a college campus and will take the course in the same manner that any other college student would take it. So they can sign up. There's usually a reduced price to it as well, depending on the course. But once they have signed up, for all intents and purposes, they are a student of that course, same as anybody else. And so they will listen to the same lectures, they will do the same assignments, they will take the same exams, they will get the exact same credit. And so this can be a great way, especially over the summer, to earn those college courses. And if your high school will allow it, not everyone does, you would want to, again, speak with your counselor to arrange it, but you may be able, I can't guarantee it, but you may be able to also have that course that you took on the college campus count for credit at your high school as well as at the college. That's a guarantee with the early college at your high school. But with the early college on a college campus, you need to talk to your counselor because they're the only ones that could make that distinction. And then same goes for early college online. Some of you may have heard of this as eStart. These are community college courses that are offered 100% online. Now, online courses are really great options for a lot of students. They are not for everybody, but if your student can fit that into their schedule and they have the requisite discipline to handle an online course, this can be another great way to earn college courses, college credit, and potentially also earn high school credit simultaneously. Then there is Project Lead the Way. This one is a little more specialized because it's all about exploring college programs and careers in engineering or technology. And so there'll usually be a sequence of courses as a part of their high school curriculum. And you'll really want to check with your school about what is offered there, if it's offered, and which types of engineering or technology they correspond to. Because there are a lot of different engineering and technology options out there, so you'll want to make sure that it really sort of lines up with what the expectations are. So some additional opportunities that students can use to get either very specialized knowledge or potentially a chance to earn some additional credits or credentials that they maybe couldn't get otherwise. The first one is Career and Technical Education, or CTE. There are a lot of different CTE centers or CTE schools out there that usually partner with a number of different high schools in the area. So you'll want to check with your high school as to what's offered and where. But they are usually chock full of different experiential and technical training to help students get prepared both for college settings, but also for more career or vocational settings. So definitely check that out if that's something that your student might be interested in. A lot of times those programs will start in a student's either sophomore, junior, or maybe senior year. And there may be 1 or 2 years that your student may be able to take those specific CTE programs. The next one is VLAX. That stands for the Virtual Learning Academy Charter School. And so that is an online program where students can either earn high school or college credit, depending on the course that they're looking to take. This is something that is incredibly popular. Again, online classes are not for everybody, and they do take a certain level of discipline. So make sure that you are discussing that both with your school counselor and with your student if that's something that they're considering in the future. There's also advanced placement. A lot of you may be or may have been familiar with this in the past, and those are the chance to tackle college level courses at your high school and then have the chance to sit for an exam that, based on your score, the score is out of 5. If your exam score is high enough, then you may have the opportunity to have either placement or be awarded college credit based on that score. And then there are extended learning opportunities, or ELOs. Many high schools or districts have an ELO coordinator that you can specifically work with to create a learning experience specifically for your student that takes place outside of the traditional classroom. Now, for any of these 4 different options, the offerings may vary pretty significantly depending on your high school and your district. So for all of these, make sure that you are checking in with your school counselor and with your school to see exactly what options or offerings are available for you and your student. So those are some of the different ways that you can identify the different pathways or options available for your students and some ways that you can prepare for those. Now let's talk about something that is sort of a sort of far off topic, but something that's worth having at least a baseline discussion now, especially for students that are considering any sort of college opportunity, and that is paying for college. So that's something that you guys may already be thinking about. It's something that's maybe sort of been in the back of your mind for a while. We're going to talk about just some of the basics right now. So that way you maybe have some of the different things to discuss and some different ways that you can look at and consider this process as it comes up in the future. So first off, when we're talking about the cost of college, there are a few different things that we want to make sure that you're doing. The first is remember, or understand rather, the difference between a school's sticker price and a school's net price. So the sticker price of a school is the cost of attending that school. So that might be the number that you see on a school's brochure, or pardon me, maybe on their website. And that number might be really big and scary. And you might be wondering to yourself, how on earth am I going to pay $30,000, $40,000, $80,000 every single year for my student to go to this school? Now, that is a concern or an anxiety that I definitely sympathize with, but it's also worth knowing that that's almost always not the price you actually end up paying. And that's where the net price comes in. The net price, by contrast, is the cost of attending the school minus any and all financial aid that the student is eligible to receive. So that price could end up being thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars lower than that sticker price. And so the next thing you may ask is, okay, how do I find out what that net price might look like? And a lot of colleges anticipate that, and as a result, they post a net price calculator somewhere on their website. So it might be specifically on the financial aid page. absolute worst comes to absolute worst, you can usually Google school name plus net price calculator, and it will take you right there if it exists. The way that it works is you can put in some information about your students' academics, maybe their GPA, class rank, test scores, if that's something they look at. And then you can put in some information about both yours and your students' finances. So get a rough idea of income, what you have saved, things like that. And based on all of that, the net price calculator will provide you two things. First off, it will provide you with a rough estimate of the amounts of financial aid that your student could qualify for, and also the resulting sort of net price, the amount that you would need to either pay out of pocket, borrow, or provide through additional scholarships. So something to remember when you are using a net price calculator is, first off, net price calculators may differ from college to college, not just in the questions that they ask, but in the sense that you could enter the exact same identical information into net price calculators for two different schools and get wildly different results in terms of the amount of aid that's given out, the net price, and that could be completely normal. There are a lot of different reasons for that. Some schools, they focus on different things when they're giving out aid, whether it's merit, so grades, athletics, etc. Some put a higher premium on need, which is your finances. Some just simply have more money to give in aid than other schools. So any one of those could be a reason why you're putting the same thing into two different calculators and getting different results. Ultimately, the net price calculator is a guess. It's an estimate of financial aid, so I wouldn't take any of it as a guarantee. And not only that, but depending on what grade your student is in, if your student is still in 8th, 9th, 10th grade, somewhere in there, then the prices and their capacity to give aid could change in the next few years. It could mean that they have more to give. It could mean they have less to give. It could mean that the cost of attendance goes up. It could mean that it goes down. There's a lot of different factors. So just make sure that you're remembering that and not taking it as an exact each way that you go through. And then if you can use these net price calculators to get a better sort of context as to what the cost of college might look like, you're still going to want to make sure that both you and your student have the talk about money and affordability early on in the college process. Because the sooner that everyone is on the same page about what affordable looks like and what it doesn't look like, even with financial aid, especially with financial aid, then everyone can be putting their efforts to the best use. And so when we're also talking about costs, it's also important to know that those costs over time, they can add up quite a bit. And so just sort of modeling it out, now it could be that, community colleges tend to be the most cost effective because not only are they only 2 years, but oftentimes they have the least costs associated with them. Public four-year schools tend to be a little more cost effective than private four-year schools, but that's not always the case. And a lot of times, if a private four-year school can make a good enough financial aid offer, you can find that prices end up being a lot more competitive between public and private schools than you would expect, but it's still important to understand how those costs can definitely compound over time. So all of this to say that it's important to understand that financial aid is available, and it's important to understand the types of financial aid that might be available. So these are the 4 basic types that you'll want to know about. The first one is scholarships. And scholarships and grants come under the umbrella of what's called gift aid. And whenever you see or hear the term gift aid, what I want you to think is free money, because ultimately that's exactly what it is. It's money that's given to your students to pay for school that they do not need to pay back in any way, shape, or form. Now, scholarships are usually merit-based, which means that it's based either on a student's ability or a student's achievements. So it could be academic, they got awesome grades; athletic, they're a star athlete; artistic, they are a great artist; community service, etc., etc. So those are all examples of a merit basis that a student may get a scholarship for. Then there are grants, which is the other type of free money that you can see, and that's oftentimes need-based. And the one that many of you may have heard of, which is sort of the most well-known, is called the Pell Grant. And that is a federally given grant. The government gives it out based on financial need. There are other grants that are available, both from the government and from colleges themselves. Colleges themselves can, in fact, give out scholarships and grants on top of what you get from the federal government or other private scholarships as well. Then there are loans, which they do have to be repaid. And you have both federal loans that you may qualify for, which are again backed by the government, but there also may be private loans that you can take out to help cover maybe some of that extra cost after the aid provided by the school. And then there is work study. And this is a part-time job that your student can get on campus, and part of their financial aid package may go towards paying their salary. So work study is unique in the sense that it doesn't necessarily reduce the cost of a school or reduce tuition, but instead it's a constant and steady source of income while the student is on campus. It is still the student's responsibility to find the job and work the hours, but it is a nice option to have for students that really need it. So now, based on all of those different options that are out there, the different types of financial aid you can find, a lot of times I get asked the question, how do students and families actually end up paying for college? And there are a few different avenues that students can choose. So there is financial aid from the federal government, states, and individual colleges. And you can qualify for a lot of those by filling out one of two forms. The one that is required by the majority of schools and is provided by the federal government is called the FAFSA. That stands for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. So that's something that a student would fill out the fall of their senior year. Another financial aid form that is required by much fewer colleges, there are maybe only about 300 to 400 nationwide, is called the CSS profile. Only worry about the CSS profile if your school that your student's considering explicitly requires it. Otherwise, there's nothing to gain by filling it out. Some students and families spring for either taking some of their income and specifically putting it towards paying down the tuition. Some schools offer specific payment plans where you can cover the tuition in installments over the course of the semester as opposed to a lump sum up front. There are dedicated college savings, whether it's something like a 529 plan, which is directly meant to be used for students' schooling, or if there's just a savings account that you have specifically said, this is my student's college fund, you can use that. There are also loans, private and federal, that both students and parents could potentially take out. Ultimately, the ultimate answer to that question, how do students or families pay for college, is usually some combination of these different things. So how is going to work best specifically for your family is up to you. But these are some of the different avenues that people can choose to help cover those costs. Some other ways that you may be able to save specifically by virtue of being a resident of New Hampshire The first one is the grant guarantee. The way that it works is if a student a Pell eligible student, so they're eligible for the Pell Grant, which is a need-based grant, and attend a New Hampshire public college, of which there are 4, UNH in both Durham and Manchester, Keene State College, and Plymouth State University, then they will be able to go for up to 4 years tuition free. So that doesn't mean that college in its entirety would be free for that student. They would still have meals, housing, and some other mandatory fees that they may need to cover. But the single largest piece of your bill, which is tuition, would be covered by your financial aid package up to 4 years in total, as long as your student keeps qualifying for the Pell Grant year after year. Another one is the tuition break, and that allows New England residents to enroll at out-of-state public colleges and universities at a discounted tuition rate. So it's not necessarily no tuition like the Granite Guarantee, but it is less tuition, and it could spell the difference between affordable and not affordable for a public college outside of New Hampshire, but still within New England. And then there is community college. I know that we have talked about them a little bit already during this presentation, but they offer some of the most affordable tuition out there. And part of the way that they do it is they structure their tuition based on the number of credits that a student takes, as opposed to paying a flat tuition rate that might be required by some of these other colleges or universities. Now, I know it's getting a little late, but if you'll permit me a little bit of math, if a student takes a full-time course load at a community college, then with the $215 per credit plus fees and etc., that would come to around $7,500 to $8,000 per year, which means that a student could complete a 2-year degree at a community college for between $15,000 and $16,000 total. By comparison, the cost of just a single year of tuition at the University of New Hampshire currently stands between $18,000 and $20,000 per year. So your student can complete an associate's degree and be halfway towards their bachelor's degree, all for less than the cost of a single year of college at UNH. Just tuition, not even the other fees, meals, housing, nothing, just tuition. So it is really hard to beat those savings, and I would definitely recommend considering that as an option for your student. So another thing that you can be doing is helping your students prepare for their future, not just in the more sort of academic or what we call hard skills based, but also in the soft skills. And this is what we talk about here. So soft skills, if you maybe haven't heard that term before, is how we refer to skills that translate well into any kind of profession. And so some of the different ways that students can hone their soft skills through this process are things like self-advocacy. So making sure that your students are communicating their needs with teachers, coaches, employers, counselors, etc. Making sure that they're discussing their schedules and future plans with their counselors to make sure that they are on the same page and can be looking out for them and advocating for them as well. Having students make their own appointments, take ownership of their time and their timing. Have them do their own paperwork and check-in at appointments. Now, there could be information that they don't readily know. So parents, be ready to help them any step of the way, but have them be the one to take the first step towards any of those things. Make sure that they're creating an appropriate email address for career or college planning. Especially a warning here, do not have them use their high school issued email for any of this. The biggest reason why is that more often than not, when the student graduates, maybe a day or two afterwards, all of those email addresses are deactivated. So make sure that they are using a unique and appropriate email address for everything related to career or college planning. Make sure that they are developing strategies for staying organized, not only in a physical sense, but also and especially in a timing sense. Because deadlines for college, deadlines for a job, when you are supposed to clock in, when you are supposed to clock out, those are hard and fast deadlines, and there will be consequences if you miss them. So if they are staying organized and on top of these things now, they will be better suited for success in the future. And finally, just ultimately communicate and ask questions. Make sure that they know that the people that are in this journey with them, whether it is you, their teacher, their counselor, they all want to see you succeed. They all want what is best for you, and they will be more than happy to help in any way that you ask them. These are all different ways that your student can prepare those soft skills. And combining that with all of the other things that we covered, you can set your student up for future success in anything that they choose. So at this point, I know that I have spoken quite a bit and covered a pretty vast array of topics. I would love to open the floor up for questions. I do know that typing questions takes a little bit longer than just asking them, but I'll give you guys a moment to start typing those and we'll be able to see them as they come up. Some other things, if you have enjoyed this presentation or if you have any sort of feedback that might help make these presentations even better in the future, you can feel free to scan the QR code that is currently on your screen and you can give us that feedback. We really appreciate it in every single step. We always want to make these better, more informative, and make sure that we are covering exactly what you need us to cover to help be the best advocates for your students. And also, if you have any additional questions, sometimes you think of them just as the webinar goes off the air. I can't count the number of times that I've been guilty of that myself. You can feel free to give us a call, shoot us an email, you can talk to us, you can schedule an appointment to cover any of those things that we talked about. Yeah, do you guys have any questions?
I'm not seeing anything. I think you got them stumped.
Yeah. Well, Charlie, is there any other things that you would want to either add or let our viewers know?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, in that case, I want to issue a huge thank you to all of you that are watching this live and all of you that are watching this recording in the future. I truly hope that all of this has been helpful. I wish each of you the best of luck in this process. Definitely talk to and work with your school counselors. They can help you to get the most out of your students' school experience and can really help them be set up in some amazing ways for this process in the future. One last time, thank you so much. Best of luck and have a great evening. Thank you.